You're not going to believe this, but one of Florida's most loyal tourist groups is pulling out, and the cracks in the economy are already starting to show. We're talking about Canadians, the snowbirds who've spent decades wintering in the Sunshine State. This time, it's not just a slowdown, it's a quiet, determined exit. Bookings are down, properties are being sold, and for the first time in years, even Florida's most dependable visitors are saying, "We're done." You might think this is just about high prices or insurance hikes, but what if it runs deeper, into something more personal, like feeling disrespected, unwelcome, or dismissed altogether? For many Canadians, this isn't just a financial decision, it's a statement. And now the consequences are adding up. Canadians used to spend over $6 billion a year in Florida alone. That money, it's now staying in Canada, or going to Portugal, Mexico, and the Caribbean. Real estate platforms like Redfin are already showing a 25% drop in Canadian buyer interest. Rentals are sitting empty, property sales are stalling, and Florida? They didn't see it coming. If this is what 2025 looks like, 2026 could be even worse. Because the quiet boycott is real, and it's spreading. If stories like this matter to you, hit like and subscribe. It helps get this video in front of more people who need to hear it. Let's get started. For years, it was a quiet ritual. Every fall, just as the leaves began to change in Ontario or Quebec, thousands of Canadian retirees would begin their slow migration south. They weren't just tourists, they were snowbirds, people who didn't just visit Florida but lived there, seasonally. Some for a few weeks, others for half the year. They built routines, friendships, traditions that lasted decades. One couple from Montreal said, "We spent over 25 winters there. Every December we'd pack up, drive down, meet the same friends at the same diner. It was home away from home." But that ritual? It's breaking. A growing number of longtime snowbirds are walking away, not because they want to, but because they feel they have to. A woman from Vancouver told the CBC, "The vibe has changed. It's not just the cost, it's the politics, the tension, the feeling that we're not really welcome anymore." Some have put their Florida homes on the market. Others didn't even bother returning. One family from Ottawa, after 17 winters in Naples, sold everything. For them, 2025 wasn't just a skip year. It was goodbye. And that shift comes with a price. Canadians used to spend over $6.6 billion a year in Florida alone, on housing, restaurants, groceries, entertainment. That money is now staying in Canada, or going to Portugal, Mexico, and the Caribbean. What was once a seasonal tradition is starting to feel like a closed chapter. And Florida, whether it knows it or not, is already feeling the consequences. What caused this shift wasn't just money. It wasn't a sudden spike in insurance rates or taxes. Those things have always gone up. This time, something deeper changed. The tone. For years, Canadians were treated like family in Florida. But slowly, that warmth gave way to mockery. Canadian leaders were ridiculed. Their importance was downplayed. Trump returned to the spotlight, calling Canada mean and nasty. Governor DeSantis shrugged off concerns about Canadian snowbirds, like they didn't matter. And for many, that crossed a line. "We spent years in Florida," said a retired couple from Nova Scotia. "But after the jokes, the name-calling, the smug attitude, we're out." And they weren't alone. Online communities were filled with the same quiet frustration. It wasn't just the prices. It was the way they were spoken about, like they were a nuisance, not guests. One former snowbird from Winnipeg put it bluntly, Florida thought it could do just fine on its own. But now the parking lots are emptier, the restaurants feel quieter. Across travel forums, real estate listings, and local businesses, the message is clear. Canadians weren't priced out, they were pushed out. What's striking about this shift is how quiet it was. There was no protest, no trending hashtag, no big announcement from Ottawa or flashy media campaign. Just a slow, invisible pullback. Bookings faded. Flights had more empty seats. Florida homes sat unsold. At first, many assumed it was temporary, a post-pandemic adjustment, maybe just a tough season. But then, it didn't bounce back. We didn't make a big deal about leaving. said a retired couple from Quebec. We just didn't go back, and most of our friends didn't either. What happened wasn't loud, but it was deeply felt. A quiet protest, not of anger, but of exhaustion. Exhaustion from being mocked, from feeling like second-class guests in a place they once called their winter home. And what makes this protest so powerful is that it didn't come with demands. It came with a decision to leave quietly and not return. We found a condo in Portugal for less money and more respect, one Canadian wrote. No drama, just peace. Florida didn't notice at first, but now it's everywhere. Empty patios, slower bookings, quieter highways. What they thought was just a pause is starting to feel permanent. And the message behind it all? You didn't lose us because of taxes. You lost us because you stopped listening. At first, Florida brushed it off. Local officials downplayed the shift. Real estate agents called it a market cooling. And Governor DeSantis? He barely acknowledged it, saying Florida's economy was strong enough to stand on its own. But that's not what the numbers say. We're talking about billions in lost revenue, from housing, groceries, car rentals, entertainment, even healthcare services. One couple from Ontario told the CBC, "We used to spend over $25,000 a winter on everything from local contractors to haircuts. That money's now going to Portugal." Multiply that by tens of thousands of households, and the loss is staggering. In places like Naples, Sarasota, and Fort Lauderdale, off-season businesses are feeling the pinch. Rental properties are sitting vacant. Seasonal workers, the people who cleaned those condos, served meals, ran tours, are getting fewer hours or being laid off altogether. And here's the irony. Some Americans are cheering the Snowbirds leaving, thinking it means less traffic or cheaper homes. But that's not how it works. With fewer seasonal visitors, a lot of small businesses can't stay afloat. Prices don't go down, they go up. And sometimes, the business just disappears. Florida's winter economy wasn't built on weekend tourists. It was built on steady, dependable snowbirds, many of them Canadian. And now, in 2025, the cracks are starting to show in places people never expected. A construction worker from Lee County told a local station, "Winter used to be the busy season. Now, we're finishing jobs slower or not at all." It's not just about missing tourists. It's about missing residents. Because that's what Canadian snowbirds were. They weren't week-long vacationers. They were part-time Floridians. And their absence is leaving more than just empty chairs at beach cafes. It's leaving a gap in the economy that Florida never expected, and still refuses to fully admit. Florida might be ground zero, but it's not the only place feeling the loss. Across the U.S., a quiet Canadian pullback is reshaping entire tourism and property markets. In Houston, Canadian interest in local real estate has dropped 55%. Philadelphia, down 53%. Chicago is seeing a 47% decline in searches from Canadian buyers. And these aren't just numbers on a screen. They reflect something deeper. A change in sentiment. A shift in preference. Because it's not just about property anymore, it's about perception. Cities that once welcomed snowbirds and short-term Canadian travelers are now seeing empty rentals, lower bookings, and quieter airports. Even Arizona, long considered a snowbird haven, is reporting far fewer seasonal residents this year. And in states like Nevada and New York, travel platforms are seeing a sharp drop in Canadian interest, not just in bookings, but in basic searches. In some areas, Canadians aren't even being replaced by other travelers. The rooms are just vacant. This isn't a boycott with loud demands. It's a slow fade-out, one that's leaving restaurants emptier, beaches quieter, and winter towns scrambling to adjust. Meanwhile, countries like Spain, Costa Rica, and the Caribbean are ramping up their outreach, and Canadians are responding. What used to be a reliable winter routine, a condo in Fort Lauderdale, a flight to Phoenix, is now being traded in for something more affordable and more respectful. Florida may have taken the biggest hit, but the message, it's echoing across the U.S. You thought we'd always come back, but this time, we didn't. The numbers we're seeing in 2025? They're not just a warning, they might be a preview. Because this isn't just about winter homes or real estate listings anymore. It's the whole picture. Canadian travel sentiment toward the US has taken a serious hit, and it's not rebounding. We've now seen 6 straight months of double-digit decline in Canadian tourism. And surveys show that over 70% of Canadians either don't plan to visit the US or have already canceled their plans. That kind of shift doesn't just affect snowbirds. It impacts family trips, road travel, vacation bookings, spontaneous getaways, the full spectrum of cross-border movement. And unlike in the past, when a slow season could be written off, this one feels different. Canadians aren't just taking a break. They're rethinking the relationship altogether. What was once automatic, a winter in Florida, a shopping trip across the border, a vacation in the sun, is now being replaced. With Spain, with Mexico, with anywhere but the US. And if this is what 2025 looks like, then 2026 is poised to be much worse. Because what we're seeing now isn't a seasonal dip. It's a fundamental shift. And once trust is broken, the bond doesn't return the same. And sometimes it doesn't return at all. Florida may still have the sunshine, but the warmth, it's fading. What we're seeing from Canadians isn't just a pause, it's a shift. And if things don't change, that shift could become permanent. If this story resonated with you, hit like, subscribe, and share it. It helps us get the word out. And if you were once a snowbird or someone who's chosen to walk away, drop a comment below. Your story might be in our next video.